Hello, everyone. IMS welcomes you all to Future Use, Set Your Career Compass Right with Experts Insight. And I am Kalyani Majumdar, your host for today's webinar. So today's episode is about careers in operations with a special focus on supply chain management. And well, if you're wondering how important is supply chain in our day-to-day life, well, it is very, very important. The journey of every product from where its raw materials are produced to ending up at your home is an interesting one. In fact, everything from your coffee to chocolate, clothes, and all the household products, and even your car are perfect examples of the success and the valuable impact of logistics and supply chain, which is largely always taken for granted by all of us. So today we are going to talk about career that plays such an integral part in our lives. So in this episode, we are going to be covering what are the roles and responsibilities of a supply chain manager. We're going to also cover job opportunities available, skill sets that are required for you to excel in this field, and many more questions regarding supply chain and operations. And we have our industry expert today, Lee Josh Jose. He's a strategic operations manager with Mars Incorporated. They are the makers of some of the popular brands like Snickers, Orbit, M&M's, Pedigree, etc. Lee Josh has completed his MBA from IIM Shillong. Prior to his job with Mars, he has worked as a senior manager, supply chain with Hector Beverages. They are known for their popular brand, Paperboat. Thank you, Lee Josh Jose, for joining us today on this webinar.
Thank you. Thanks, Kalyani. Thanks for the warm introduction.
Thank you. Yeah, so let's start from, if you could just take us through your career trajectory, as in what made you decide to go for an MBA, and then how did you decide operations as your career path?
Sure. Thanks, Kalyani. So basically, I have, maybe let me just take you through my career, like where I did my 12th. So I did my 12th in a small town called Gudalur. It's a Nilgiris. After which I did my engineering from Government College of Technology, Coimbatore. So engineering was an aspiration during that point in time. I'm sure like I was also interested in engineering. So I did my electrical and electronics engineering. After which doing my third, fourth year, I was interested in the MBA piece. Like, so I did give CAT at my fourth year. But I also had this job opportunity from Bosch again in Coimbatore as well as in Bangalore. So I took up that role at that point in time because I'm sure having a corporate experience will definitely be a boost, especially when you're going for the management studies. So I did 2 years of work there. Then I joined IIM Shillong through CAT. I did score pretty good in CAT. So after which I joined IIM Shillong. So like any other MBA graduate as well, right? You will have a confusion as to what career path you'll have to choose. And we don't have the facilities as we have these days, wherein technical experts or experts from different fields talk about, let's say, what is that is important, finance, marketing, operations. So there was a plethora of options already available there. I was interested in both, I would say, sales and marketing as well as operations. Because I would say both of them would require some amount of similar skills, etc. So my first job opportunity, what I got was from Cognizant, where I was actually handling business development. So business development is again something that you'll have a product, you'll have to sell that product. And I did that role for around 8 to 9 months. But for me, I got a job opportunity from Hector Beverages, which was into operations and supply chain. So they were just setting up that business, which was there in for almost 4-5 years. But they had a new plant in Mysore. Where they had already a plant in Manesar and then was in the Mysore plant. So they took me up for a role which is like the supply chain manager, handling both the raw material, packing material, and to an extent the distribution part of it as well. So that's the best part of a startup business. You kind of like get to keep your hands in like all the parts. Then I did my, so then I worked there for almost around 3.5 years. I'll just take you through that later as to what I was doing there exactly. Then I kind of moved to a role which is like with Mars International. So Mars International is a US based company, and you have already touched upon some of the brands that they make. It's like they also have additionally like Boomer, Orbit, Royal Canin, etc., etc. So there were like some pretty good brands out there. And it's an international business, right? You have, it's a US based business. You have like 100 countries. And I was handling the role wherein you are like the strategic operations buyer initially. And then I recently took over, which is like last year, as a strategic operations manager for the entire APAC as well as the Middle East region. So to answer your question, when I took up operations, it was when this job opportunity came up with Hector Beverages. That's when I took up this role, because I was in business development. Then I moved into operations. Once I took up that, it was almost like I was completely in that particular field, which was more like procurement as well as a supply chain piece.
Okay. So can you then once, can you take us through your Hector Beverage, as in what exactly your roles and responsibilities were there as a senior manager of supply chain with Hector Beverages? And then, we can come back to your strategic operations designation here. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Kalyani. So basically, like I said, the company was setting it up, especially in Mysore. So what happened initially was that they were kind of revamping their entire supply chain team. So I was one of the earliest to join the supply chain team. And like you said, supply chain actually starts from the time you actually procure your raw material. And when you say raw material, it can be both your raw material as well as your packing material, which goes into your final product. So you kind of, let's say, when you're basically talking about, let's say, juice manufacturing, you might have like fruits or like purees, which kind of blends into your final product. Or you might have commodities like, let's say, sugar or any other kind of things. Plus then there are like different other products. So each product which you're looking at as a final product will have n number of raw material and packing material, again depending on the complexity of the material. So there I was handling the procurement part as well as the distribution part. I'll come to the distribution part a bit later. So when you say procurement, basically like you will have to talk to the suppliers who are your existing suppliers, who gives you like the raw materials as well as the packing material. Now in terms of packing material, there can be different types of packing material. Like let's say you have pouches, which is a very different kind of a packing material which is used in Hector. Then there are PET bottles, then there are like Tetra packs, and there are like n number of like packing materials which are available. So you kind of procure that. When I say procurement, you will have to talk to the supplier. You will have to negotiate the prices at some point in time, especially if it's an yearly contract or multi-year contract, etc. And since that's a very small business that we are talking about, you'll also have to handle the planning part of it, like how much of material that actually you need for your production in your plant. So you'll have to coordinate with different plants. In this case, there were 2 plants, plus there were also co-manufacturing plants. So you'll have to coordinate with them. You will have to tell them supplier, and it's not just short term as well, right? You need something, let's say down the line, your business is growing, let's say 50%, 100%. You will also have ask them to set it up in a way so that you are looking at the long term as well. So that's one part of it, which is a procurement and sourcing, you call it. And then as well, you also have something, let's say you want to procure or let's say produce a new product as such, which is not there with you. And then you'll have to find out sources as to where you will get that products from. Let's say you're already doing, let's say pomegranate. Now we'll have to probably get into, let's say Guava juice manufacturing. Now you'll have to find out what is the best source of, let's say Guava juice, or let's say Guava puree, you call it. And then you'll have to find out sources. Packing material would almost remain the same. So that's kind of the spectrum of the procurement. And then it goes to the plant, and then you will have the production facility. So initially when I took up this role, I was based out of the plant, because that gives you that visibility of actually you seeing the final product coming out. Plus it also helps you to coordinate very closely with the plant, because you will also have to ensure how much of the capacity the plant has to produce, how much of the storage capacity that they have. So it's a whole gamut of things which I'm not getting into the details of. And then once you have the entire finished product, what you'll have to do is that you will have to, there'll be again SKUs. It can be, let's say, different sizes. There can be 100 ml product, 200 ml product, even 1 liter products, etc., etc. Now this will be like either coming out of one single plant or different plants. It'll have to move into distribution warehouses. Like they will be handled by, let's say, called CHAs, you call it in your typical logistics language. That's in case of distribution, or it can even directly go into, let's say, modern trade warehouses or e-commerce warehouses. So there will be like different warehouses set up in different states. So you'll have to coordinate with them, ensure that your inventory is available, all the inventory of all the available products at all the warehouses, so that the sales is not disturbed. So what happens in that case is basically you will you are very much in close coordination with the sales team. So you'll have to ensure that the demand that they are having for each of the product is available with each of these warehouses, and you don't really face sales loss. So that's typically what I was doing there. But at some point in time, like you will purely focus on procurement, and some point in time you will focus on distribution. Because I was in a startup, initially I was focusing on the distribution side of it. And after 1.5 years, my pure focus was on the procurement and sourcing piece of it. So you'll have to coordinate with R&D, factory, internal stakeholders, as well as your external stakeholders, who are typically your suppliers in this case.
In supply chain, where exactly do you start in our company? As in what's the entry level, and then how do you go up?
Yeah. So in terms of supply chain, again, it depends on, I wouldn't say it's a one answer for, let's say, all segments, or I would say all sectors.
Okay.
Because again, in some cases, when I talk about, let's say, this factory, this procurement, etc., there are also some brands which completely outsource their production or manufacturing to a third party. And those are done by almost all the bigger companies also. Let's say, for example, I'm talking about Pepsi, Coke. They may not be producing all their products. They might have a co-manufacturer who does the entire procurement part of it. They produce the final goods and they give it to it. So then the logistics actually starts from the time the finished goods are ready from those supplier, or let's say the co-manufacturer, and then you take it up from there on. So in terms of your career options, what happens generally is that depends on what is the spectrum of supply chain that you are talking about,
so
and the size of the business.
Say if you're talking about FMCG sector.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
in terms of FMCG as well, it depends on the size of the business. You might as well start as with, let's say, an inventory planner. So you'll have to plan the inventory, because the size of business is so huge that you might have, let's say, 30 warehouses, you might have 10 plants, and coordinating all these things in a way such that you have all the available inventories available in different places. You will have all the systems available, but you'll have to coordinate with a different guys, and then you'll have to manage this piece. There can be supply planner, demand planner. In some cases, you can actually become, let's say, logistics manager for a particular region. And then you kind of take up the logistics management for the entire country. Or let's say from the procurement side, actually, you can start handling a procurement of one particular category within the raw material, or let's say the procurement manager for only the packing materials. And then you move up the ladder where you will handle, like, let's say, all raw materials, or let's say raw material plus packing material, etc., etc. So it again depends on the size, or you might as well actually become a procurement manager for the entire business, because the size of the business is not huge and you can actually handle it all by yourself.
Okay. But say if you're talking about Hector Beverages, where did you start and how did you end up being the senior manager supply chain?
Absolutely, yeah. So when I started my career, like I said, I was handling the procurement of just the raw materials initially. And then what happens is that eventually it's all about, again, the kind of confidence that they have in you. So the way that you're working, after 1.5 years, they found out that I was doing a pretty good job in that. And then they give you the entire gamut of, let's say, the total procurement, which is like procurement of raw material, packing material, as well as like procurement for your new products as well. So you kind of handle the entire spectrum of raw material plus packing material for the entire business. And then you kind of move from, let's say, a normal supply chain. And again, just that you're kind of handling a wider spectrum of area rather than what you were actually earlier handling. And when I initially started, it was not just procurement of raw material. I was also handling a part of distribution. But then eventually someone else came in and took up the entire, you call it as basically the supply chain typical language, which is the logistics part of your finished goods.
Correct. Okay. Okay. So now if you are talking about, okay, so you've already covered that bit, as in, but about, if you are talking about, say, senior manager supply chain in, say, any particular firm, it all depends on the size, right? So
it depends on the size, it depends on the type of operations. Exactly. For example, if you're talking about e-commerce, that will be a completely different.
It'll be completely different.
It'll be different.
Yeah. So you were, since you already spoke about Mars Incorporated as well, and you were there as a strategic operations manager. So how different is your role as a strategic operations manager at Mars Incorporated from what you've been doing in Hector Beverages as a senior manager of supply chain?
Absolutely, yeah. So like I said,
and
Mars
also what are the differences, as in, what are the nuances that are involved, like, and the differences in these two? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So what I will actually do is that I'll talk about what's the role that I'm doing in Mars.
Yeah, right.
And the general question which always comes up is like, what's the difference between operations and supply chain?
Yeah.
Is it actually different or is it actually same? So maybe I'll try to give my perspective.
Okay. Right.
And then hopefully I think the attendees would be able to get it better.
Right.
So when I talk about my current role, the strategic operations manager, it's basically I handle for the APAC and Middle East region. So here what I do is, we have different factories in different parts of world wherein they manufacture different products. Now, let's say, for example, M&M might be manufactured in Europe. Let's say Twix might be manufactured, let's say in Middle East, etc. Now, when you look at the final end portfolio of your products, you'll have to sell all those products in India. I'm just giving an example of India. Similarly, there are multiple other markets in the APAC and Middle East regions. It's around almost 40 or 50 markets that I'm talking about. And all these are produced in different factories across the world. And what I do is move these goods from one part of the world to the other part of the world. And currently I'm handling it for all the markets within the APAC and Middle East region.
Okay.
So all the operations involved there. And when I say it's operations plus the strategy piece, when I say strategy, you will have to find out like, how do you move these goods? And typically it's actually moved through your ocean freight carriers, you call it. All your bigger shipping lines like Maersk or let's say MSC, etc., etc. So what you'll have to do is that you'll have to find out what's the mode of moving. Either you'll have to directly get into a contract with this shipping lines, or you will have to actually talk to, let's say there are called forwarders who will handle it for yourself. So you kind of outsource this to a forwarder. So I handle that operations piece, which is starting from the port in that particular country to port in this country. Now, what I do is that as a role, it's that entire operations that I'm handling, coordinating very closely with the shipping lines, as well as with the local supply chain managers or the logistics managers. Now, the responsibility of the supply chain managers of each of these markets is to ensure that the products are reaching to them in the quantity and the time that they need. And they manage that piece. So the lead time from that particular factory to here, the cost is something that we will negotiate and do it from an operations perspective as well as from a strategic perspective. But they own the budget of this total movement, and you call it as actually logistics conversion cost. So it's not just after reaching the port, they'll have to manage it to ensure to reach to your end customer. Now, your end customer can be a distributor, you can be like, let's say, modern trade or whatever, however it is. And this coordination is not just for one particular factory, but for multiple factories. So for example, in India, I'm talking about, let's say, a chocolate business. A chocolate business will have, let's say, multiple products coming from multiple parts. Plus, there will be something which is also manufactured within India as well. So as a logistics manager, it's your role to ensure, and I'm talking about not my role, I'm talking about the logistics or supply chain manager of India, to ensure that all my budgeted cost is within the range, as well as my inventory levels are within whatever I need. The third thing is that how do I plan for the products in such a way that it gets to me by the time I need it? What I do is that I, as an operation manager, just purely supports them in that field where the goods are moving from imports, or I would say probably from a different country. I am not the owner of that budget, but eventually indirectly I am impacting the final, the bottom line of the company, or I would say bottom line of that particular LCC. So that's the typical difference actually between a supply chain and operations. Now, in many terms, what happens is that your operations and supply chain logistics all are interchangeably used from company to company. So always the question is that, is operations different from supply chain? Not really. Yeah, there is a difference, because you would eventually be like doing probably a part of the operations, optimizing it, setting up some process in such a way that that eventually will result in a better benefit or bigger benefit, etc. So you may not really be an owner of a complete, I would say, budget or let's say logistics cost, etc. But indirectly, you might be affecting the logistics cost of that market or that area where the business is happening. That's the typical difference. I don't know if that's kind of making sense, because it's not very easy to kind of understand.
Yes, it is actually. Yeah. But yes, I mean, to some extent, yes, we've understood, I believe. Attendees have understood, I believe. But but if you take, maybe, we will understand it even better if you can just take an example from your role in both the companies, and then just compare it exactly on the, in the same level.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you could just take some example of a supply chain.
Absolutely, yeah.
How different it is. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's not very different. Maybe I will tell. When I'm doing supply chain role in, let's say, Hector, it involved a lot of operational piece as well. So when I say operational, you will have to coordinate. When I say operations, what is it basically? You will have to ensure that day-to-day operations are managed. your, let's say, operations on a weekly basis is managed. You will have to coordinate with your suppliers, your distributors, your CHAs, etc., and ensures that the products are flowing from the factory to the warehouses, or let's say the modern trade guys or e-commerce guys, etc. So that involves the operational piece of it.
Right.
And then as a supply chain manager, you are not only involved in the operations, you are also involved in the planning piece of it, like how much you will have to move, what you will have to move, in what quantity you will have to move, in such a way that it meets your end result of what is the inventory that you require at the optimal cost and in the best way possible. And the third piece is that you are the owner of that entire, let's say, movement from factory to the end customer. What is the total budget that you have for a particular year? Maybe it can be 10 crore, 20 crore, and you'll have to ensure that all the costs that you are having, and you'll have to ensure that the budget heads are properly managed in a such a way that at the end of the year, you own that entire piece and you kind of meet the target that is given to you. So maybe that's how I can probably put it as like a supply chain manager, which involves planning, which involves operations, which involves like all the things wherein you kind of become the single point of contact. Now, when I say it can be for a particular region or it can be even for the entire business as such. So maybe as a logistics head, you would be managing the entire business. As a logistics manager for South, you'll have to ensure that this particular cost for South is managed within the total limit which is given.
Okay.
Now, in a bigger business, or probably let's say a business which is like as big as probably let's say an HUL or PNG, etc., what happens is that you might single-handedly only be owning one part of operations. Let's say you might be handling, let's say, 4 or 5 warehouses and the operations of that warehouses. So you'll have to be that in that warehouse. You'll have to coordinate with that guys, and eventually you are actually resulting, or you are like kind of impacting the total cost. But then maybe you may not be the complete owner of that one. There will be someone who is doing the planning, someone who is actually managing the transportation. Eventually, your point is only to ensure that you do the best operations piece to ensure that warehouse is run the best way. And let's say all the systems are in the place, etc., with the warehouse. Now, in terms of strategic operations, when I told, it's even a bigger role that I'm doing in Mars. Why? Because you're actually handling not just the operations of one particular, let's say, warehouse or anything. You are handling the operations of multiple movements between country to country, and not just one factory to one country. You are handling about approximately, like I would say, 50 markets, and then you are having like 10 or 20 countries which are having producing these goods. So I handle the operations piece of moving these goods, but the ownership of this planning, logistics, cost, etc., lies with each of these markets single-handedly. So India logistics, how much goods to come, what is the mode of movement, etc., will be planned by the India team. But I handle that operations of moving that goods. But that's only one piece of it. That might be only 1% of my work. But then since I'm doing it for multiple markets and multiple factories, it becomes all added up together and becomes a bigger role for me. So in terms of role, I would say more or less like there are a lot of commonalities. But then eventually it's kind of called as operations, and the other one is called as like supply chain.
Correct. Okay. So can you tell us now about how to build a profile or a resume for operations career, or for that matter, even supply chain? As in, if you can just tell us first about the core skills, like since you actually said a lot of things that you're doing at Mars, and then at Hector Beverages, you were doing very different things too. So now, what are the, if you have to take it as in 3 core skills, 3 hard skills and 3 soft skills that you would need, that would help the person. I mean, one should actually have those so that, it kind of helps them in a career in supply chain.
No, absolutely. So in terms of skills, right, I would say most of the skills are actually soft skills, because you'll have to interact with a lot of stakeholders. And it's very similar to a lot of other business, or I would say, let's say like a sales manager, or let's say consultant, etc., because you'll have to talk to a lot of stakeholders. Now, that can be your internal stakeholders, like your finance team, your factory team, and then you will have your sales team, all within your organization. Now, you'll have to coordinate with them in multiple scenarios to ensure that things are moving as per the end goal, what we want to achieve. Similarly, from an external stakeholder perspective as well, you will have to talk to a lot of suppliers. You will have to talk to, let's say, the logistics guys, the logistics teams, who is like managing it like externally for you, who is sitting in the distributor warehouse, or let's say the suppliers who is giving you, let's say, raw material, packing material, etc. So this involves something called as like the stakeholder management. The stakeholder management and communication piece is like very critical. Second thing is like problem solving skills, which is like you'll have to deal with a lot of ambiguity, which is within your internal as well as your external environment. So how do you manage this ambiguity and ensure that whatever the problems that you're facing on a day-to-day basis has been like solved, and how do you kind of take a decision? Because at some point in time, you'll have to take a decision like as quick as like possible. And you'll also have to be proactive, because one decision that you take now may not have short-term impact, but will have a long-term impact. Like for example, in terms of planning, if you want to plan a product, a raw material for something, or packing material for something, the impact will not be felt now. It will be felt 2 months down the line, because if you have not planned it properly, you may not have the raw material or packing material to actually produce a finished goods. So that's also very critical here. Communication skills is important, which is very closely related to the stakeholder management piece. In terms of hard skills, I would say one of the key things which has come up now is actually the data analytics piece, because you kind of have a lot of data and with respect to all these movements. Now it can be the logistics movements, it can be planning, it can be like demand, what is actually required, it can be what is your business plan for the next 2-3 years, etc. So being good at like data, and you're able to understand how this data can be actually taken up and used to produce some kind of inferences which will give you business value is very, very important. And similarly, it's very important that you also understand how this data can be used for forecasting, because forecasting is something which is like very critical when it comes to planning, especially converting what is your demand, which is like, let's say I have to sell, let's say next year, 20 crores of sneakers. Now that 20 crores, how do you translate into, let's say, what SKUs, what size of SKUs, what is the what can be the different product portfolio that you'll have to build, especially for the sneakers, etc. And then how do you translate that into production plans, etc. So that's very critical. Now for some established brands, it's not very difficult, because you would always have the historical data and you can work on that one. But for the brands which are growing, let's say at a 20, 30, 40%, in some cases that becomes really difficult, and you'll have to manage it particularly well. So data analytics is a very, very critical piece. And I think many of the other things are also related to it. Like you can have probably some amount of experience in inventory management, some amount of experience in logistics management. But most of this actually comes when you start working on something, and then you kind of learn your way towards it. So that's how it works.
How to build your profile to excel in this field? Any tips?
See, in terms of building your profile, you can definitely learn a lot about it. But like swimming, right? You can learn a lot about swimming, but you'll have to eventually get into water, right? So it's more very, very much similar to that one, because only when you start getting to the field or probably start working on that field, you will understand what are the nuances. But having said so, you can definitely take up projects on this particular front. And especially for the guys who are actually like doing MBA or who are planning to do MBA, there are a lot of project opportunities available. Now the project can be like a simple problem which a company or even a very small manufacturer or a small company is facing. You try to kind of get in there and try to kind of get your way towards it to find out what can be the solutions that are possible. So that's also very much closely related to the skill that I've talked about, the analytical skill or the problem solving skill, right? So that's where you'll have to like kind of very, very, very similar to the CAT thing. Like you have the logical reasoning. So you have all these constraints, you have all these problems, but then you have some opportunities available. With all the available information, what is the solution that you can build? But then there are also courses like different courses like epics. Then there are like courses which are like project management courses, etc., which are very much available in Udemy, or let's say very much available in Coursera. You take that courses which will definitely give you an overview of how it works. But some of them can be very theoretical, and when you actually come into your day-to-day work, you might find it like way different than what you've actually learned in your theory. But having like doing all these things would definitely help you to build a career in supply chain management.
If someone has been working in operations and supply chain management, and is it easy to shift from one domain to another? Is it a smooth transition? Say, do you think a candidate can transition from supply chain role to a product management role, or vice versa?
Okay. So from a supply chain management role, it's easier to actually get into, let's say, a consulting domain,
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and why I say so is because what you do in consulting is basically kind of coming up with solutions for the problems that you get from the businesses, right? And this
Okay.
can be like any kind of consulting. It can be
Mm.
the supply chain, procurement, or even
Okay.
management consultants. Because
Mm-hmm.
having worked in a particular field and having gone through different levels of that particular field, especially let's say procurement or supply chain, and India as such has a logistics cost of approximately around 8 or 10 percentage, and that's because of various reasons. And a lot of these industries and businesses are looking out for solutions.
Okay.
So definitely consulting is an area where you can easily get into, and the vice versa also is possible, because a consultant who has gone through different engagements with different companies and having seen these problems and solutions around it, there is also a preferred way in some case that the industry is kind of rope in the consultant as an internal employee to solve some of these issues, especially if there is no internal, let's say, employee or internal people, internal skill available for that.
But do you think if someone is someone who's been in supply chain is moving to consulting, is that the way to grow in this field? Or in supply chain, what's the growth?
Yeah,
And
sure.
if one is moving from there to consulting, then is consulting the right way to go if you are moving at all
No, so
to
there is
supply
no
chain?
right or wrong way
Ah,
about it,
okay. Yeah.
Kalyani. So it's basically
Yeah.
like what is your aspiration, like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you have done like, let's say,
Basically, yeah, for growth and all that. So
yeah, yeah.
which would be, yeah. So if you can just take that question.
Sure. So in terms of growth, it's both are like good, but I
Okay.
would prefer someone growing internally within an organization, starting off, let's say, as a supply chain manager or logistics manager or as a
Right.
procurement sourcing manager, depends on which part of the area that you're working on, and then
Right.
you grow up the level to probably become a supply chain head or logistics head for a market
Right.
or a country.
Hmm.
And you can be a supply chain director depending on the size of that market. Now, in many cases, if you're talking about like multinational companies, there is always an opportunity to move into a regional role. And when I say regional role, you cannot just be handling only an India market. You might be handling, let's say, a whole Southeast Asia market plus India put together, and then you handle the logistics or supply chain for that entire region. Now, the
Right.
supply chain can be just purely handling the supply chain, or you kind of building the strategy as pipeline for next 2-3 years, etc. Then you can be kind of a regional manager for the entire APAC and Middle East region. You can be a global supply chain manager, handling it for an entire globe for one particular category. So there are a lot of avenues available for a growth within the organization. And eventually, when you go up, let's say 30, 40, or let's say not 30, 40, 20, 30 years down the line,
Yeah.
you can
Right.
definitely be, let's say, a chief procurement officer or chief operating officer,
Okay.
supply chain director, global level. And depending on the size of that organization, these are like pretty big roles, which will come only with like a lot of experience having worked in that field for 20-30 years.
Hmm.
Now, going into consulting, again,
Yeah.
if you're aspirational about consulting and you have had some amount of experience
Hmm.
and you want to understand how it works, you can definitely go there, and you can move up the ladder as well. How do you move it? And there's always a step function of moving from, let's say, consulting to supply. You want to go back to supply chain, or let's say consulting, etc., is also possible.
Okay.
Just going back to your other question on
Yeah.
what
Product
are the
management.
other
So,
opportunities, or
yeah.
yeah.
But are you saying that it's not exactly possible to for someone from supply chain to move to product management role, or vice versa? No.
No, so product management is more like a role which is available in technology-driven
Okay.
companies. So here, there, I think if you generally know what happens in a product management. Again, I'm no expert of product management. Generally, you kind of be interface between the business as well as, let's say, the tech team, and
Hmm.
then you try to convert all your business problems into, let's say, tech languages. And this typically comes into like product or let's say tech-related companies.
Okay.
So obviously, if you're talking about, let's say, a product manager
Hmm.
who wants to be an expert in, let's say, supply chain management,
Yeah.
now there's a very high possibility, because you might have some amount, you would have obviously have some amount of experience of working in supply chain,
Hmm.
and the product portfolio that you're building are somewhere related to, let's say, supply chain or let's say procurement. Now there are these tech companies which have come up very recently who
Hmm.
are trying to build technology solutions for supply chain or procurement.
Okay.
Now Once you get into that field, you can obviously be, let's say, a product manager for, let's say, that kind of companies. And from there, you can move into other product management role. But otherwise, for me personally, and from whatever I have seen, it's not very easy to directly get into. But it can also be because product management as a role has come up very recently. So maybe you're not really sure what's going to happen in the future, right? Maybe you can see a lot of people moving as well. But the trend as of now is there is not too much of movement, especially because there is no mutually exclusive area between both of them. So maybe because of
So
that.
in tech sector, you might.
Tech sector, it can be very much possible. Why? Because I'm saying, let's say, for example, you're working in an Amazon or Google and you're already doing a supply chain manager operations role. It's easier for you to move. And that's the same case for all the other roles as well. Within an organization, there's always a possibility of you moving from, let's say, supply chain management to even a sales, finance, etc., based on what are your aspirational levels. So what you generally do is that you take up something called as a shadow role or a stretch role. So you kind of shadow someone who is actually doing, let's say, a business role, maybe let's say sales manager role. You understand what are the roles and responsibilities, and you kind of build your skills towards that one. So similarly, in a tech company as well, if you want to grow into a product management role from an operation supply chain role, it's definitely possible.
Okay. Let's take a question. What is the scope of supply chain management and operations for an engineer in food processing technology? Does it help when you come from such a background?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll say why, because there are a lot of this, if you look at, like, there is agri-business management courses available in different MBA colleges, especially, let's say, IMA. I'm not sure, there are like many other colleges, like top colleges, which gives this course. And what happens is that you come up with some amount of experience from, let's say, food processing industry, having worked as, let's say, process executive, or let's say food processing engineer, etc., wherein you will be working in labs or you will be working in production areas, etc. So having come with that experience into MBA and learned about business, there are a lot of opportunities available in FMCG sectors, because you kind of understand how does, let's say, manufacturing work, or let's say, how does, let's say, a supply chain work, because you have had some experience working there. Plus you have also learned something about business. So there's a lot of opportunities available. And recently, and if you are reading news, etc., you would understand that there's a lot of focus on food manufacturing, let's say food processing, etc., within India. So some of these products earlier we used to import from, let's say, China or let's say other parts of the world. There's a lot of focus in just kind of making it like internally within our country. And there are a lot of businesses which are focusing on that one. So FMCG companies, which are like big FMCG like conglomerates, they are doing a lot of work on this one, and there's a very huge scope in this field, which is food processing or manufacturing, and definitely you can try for that.
Okay. So now that there's another question: how's the field going to change in the next 10 to 15 years, and opportunities as well? Can you also answer this question alongside our current situation, as in how COVID-19 has impacted this particular domain? Yeah. And if you can also take some examples from your job at Mars, that would be really wonderful.
Yeah. No problem. So like any other field, supply chain field is also rapidly changing. Right. And that's because there's a lot of technological innovations which are happening in the field. So some of these problems that I have told earlier, right, let's say with respect to forecasting, with respect to the logistics cost being very high in a market like India, we are trying to bring up, or let's say generally the industry is trying to come up with solutions which are technology driven solutions. With, let's say, digital procurement, digital supply chain, let's say artificial intelligence. How can you predict what can be the problems which can come up in a supply chain for future using all this technology? Now, that's something which we are seeing at this point in time. Now, talking about 10 years down the line, it's very difficult because of the rapid change in things that are happening. So you might, having said so, the other thing which is there is that India as such is like, it's like definitely behind some of the developed nations like US and Europe in terms of supply chain as an overall thing. So what happens there is that you might just have 10 people working in a factory and rest of it all is like automated. You might just see the raw material, packing material coming in, and that will be also automatic, and you'll just see the end product coming in. So there will be just some few people who will be there within the factories just overseeing it. They will not be touching the product Definitely. And even the supply chain, let's say the final end product, how it is moving as well, there not be too many people involved in it because it's all automated. So in India, it's more drive like going towards that one in terms of automation. How do you automate the entire supply chain, starting from your supplier to the end customer with limited number of people, but with a lot of technology around it. So that's the way the industry is growing. So 2-3 years, that's what we are seeing. But down the line, what is going to change? It's very difficult to predict at this point. With COVID-19, yes, I would say digitalization, virtually working together, because logistics earlier is like, I would say logistics, or let's say even procurement is like a more relationship driven business, right? You'll have to be there, you will have to have. So for me, as such, my role is like, let's say 25% you will have to visit, and you'll have to visit factories, you'll have to visit your suppliers, you'll have to even in some cases visit some markets to build that relationship with the suppliers as well as with the internal stakeholders. So that's all becoming like very virtual at this point in time. And if you also have read through the COVID-19 situation, you would have learned that there were a lot of issues in terms of the supply chain.
Yes.
And when I say supply chain, it's all about moving goods, right? And for me, the challenge was even more difficult because you're talking about multiple countries and multiple markets, all having their own dynamics. So moving goods from, let's say, one country to the other country. Let's say, for example, there was case in like Philippines when the entire port was shut down for almost like 3 weeks to 4 weeks, etc. Now, in that particular situation, what decision that you take is gonna impact the business is something that we'll have to do. So it was very, very dynamic, volatile last 1 year, I would say. But things are coming back to normalcy. There's a lot of manufacturing which has come back to normality in all these parts of the world, which is like Southeast Asia, Asia, etc. So you are seeing things back to normal as it was before COVID-19. But during this particular last, I would say 7 or 8 months, it was very difficult to manage this entire supply chain to ensure that purely your goods are just moving from one country to the other country. What was your third question, Kalyani? Sorry, I missed it out.
So this was basically,
The question, right?
Yeah. You've answered both. So the thing is, so since this situation has been a very pretty difficult for supply chain, this entire lockdown and all. So but there must have been some learning, and now if some things happen in the future, something like that. But then, do you think now the world will be? Do you think supply chain that way is getting somewhere where these situations can also be handled? I mean, has there been anything like that, or do you think in that question that our attendee asked, in 10 to 15 years, do you think there can be something that can change where these situations cannot hamper, as in these unprecedented situations cannot hamper with supply chain? Do you think it is possible?
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's very difficult to answer that question, Kalyani, because right, like COVID-19 is something which people would have never seen in lifetime with a person. I'm talking about even with a person who has an experience of, let's say, 30, 40 years in supply chain. Even for them, they would not have faced a similar situation. But in this case, industry has taken a lot of learnings from it. Supply chain management as such also has taken a lot of learnings from it, because what happens is that earlier you were not prepared for something very similar, but now you have a lot of learnings out of it. Like how do you kind of manage the situation, and you kind of build like different scenarios, like what would happen, let's say, if this is A scenario, B scenario, C scenario, and you would have had use cases and, let's say, learnings that you take out of it. And then you take that for your, let's say, you keep it as, let's say, a learning which you can use for future. So definitely business as well as, let's say, supply chain management team, or let's say supply chain managers overall, would be able to manage a similar kind of situation far better in the future. But that whenever it comes in the future, it will not be of the same I would say way, or it will not be of the same magnitude of what it was now. But definitely it will be easier in future, or I would say probably they will be better prepared in the future to handle something similar. And sometimes what happens is that, I mean, what I have even seen is also that some of the things are like kind of a very reactive decisions that we have taken basis what has happened in the past. But I'm sure that in the future, some of these things will be proactive and people will be better equipped to take that decisions, which would definitely add a lot of value back to the business when those decisions are taken.
So what kind
I know it's a very diplomatic or vague answer, but I would say there is no.
Yeah, but obviously, there is no one answer to this kind of question.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
know, yeah. But since you spoke about the challenges, so I thought like maybe I should just put that question out there. But
Absolutely.
tell me, what kind of job opportunities are available in this field? And if an MBA aspirant, like a fresh MBA, I mean, a student who has just completed MBA, what would that person be looking at? As in, where all are the job opportunities? Can you just tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, yes. So the job opportunities as such is like pretty much there for operations and supply chain management.
Okay.
And it has been there from like years because logistics, procurement, etc. is not something which came up recently.
Right.
It has came up like almost years back. But the way that it was been handling was very different, right? Let's say you're talking about purchase. What do you mean by purchase? Like you have, let's say you have to take buy 10 chairs for a company. You kind of like give a tender, or then you give it to, let's say, someone, or you kind of call for an auction, etc. But the industry has like changed a lot in the last few years, especially let's say last 10 years. And there's a lot of focus on the skills that is required for this role. So earlier, if it was like purely operational, now the kind of skill set that is required is more like strategic, analytical, etc., which I'm sure the guys from MBA graduates, like the MBA graduates, would be able to give back to the industry. So there's a whole shift in terms of the kind of people that they are looking for. In terms of opportunities, there are a lot of opportunities. And I'll say why, because FMCG is one part of it, but all those new companies which are coming up, let's say the new businesses which are coming up, let's say Swiggy, Zomato, it's all about what you have the product you have delivered to the end customer. And how do you even manufacture that one? So they have their own kitchens, they have their own manufacturing hubs. So how do you even procure the goods, etc., etc. And talking about e-commerce industry, and I mean the recent news which came up is like Flipkart is gonna build, I would say, I think 300 400 acres of land in Manesa, where they're gonna build a logistics hub. So it's all important that it's like that in itself shows that what is the kind of importance the industry and different industries that I'm talking about is actually putting on logistics. So you have a lot of opportunities, and the opportunities can be varying from different industry to different industry. You can start as a procurement manager, supply chain manager, a planning manager, or you can handle the operations of one particular region for, let's say, Swiggy or Zomato, or let's say Amazon, you can handle one operations hub, etc. So various opportunities are available. It's just that you will have to like put your hands up and then just kind of prepare yourself for that role. And I'm sure you will be easily be able to get into that.
Okay. So if blockchain technology, it's a question, if blockchain technology is implemented in supply chain, how would it affect the conventional operations in supply chain?
Wow, it's a very good question and a very difficult question as well. So blockchain, yes, absolutely. I think there's a lot of emphasis on blockchain in the last few years. I would say last couple of years actually, and banking sector has already taken it up, like finance has already started taking it up. In terms of, I would say, operations or supply chain, it's still just coming into it. Like, so there are a lot of pilot projects which are being done in like many companies, especially around the procurement piece of it, as well as the supply chain piece of it. So we would see a lot of innovations coming in that particular field, especially around the blockchain. But how is that going to turn up and how is that going to change the industry is something that we'll have to wait and watch. But what I'm trying to say here is that like any other segment, there's also a lot of emphasis of blockchain and artificial intelligence and a lot of other things, which is being brought into the supply chain and procurement field.
Okay. There's another question. Is it possible to build a business around supply chain management, namely if my company is providing solution for logistics or operations or supply chain to others? I think that would be almost like a consulting job.
It'll be almost like a consulting, but what's also happening, right? Like I said, right, there are a lot of these problems in supply chain and procurement, and many of these small startup companies have come up with solutions around it. So a simple solution which was built earlier, I would say maybe 2-3 years back by many of these companies was just tracking the vehicles movement. like where is your vehicle, when is your vehicle reaching your destination, how much time it takes, etc., etc. Now that was something which was not available, let's say 5 or 10 years down the line. Every time you'll have to call up a driver, or you'll have to call up a logistics person from the transportation guy, and then you'll have to find it out. So answering the question, yes, there are a lot of problems. Like I said, the logistics cost is higher. There's a lot of scope for optimization and management of inventory, etc., etc. And the good thing is that industry is actually looking for these kind of solutions. So even if you are pitching, let's say for example, you come to Mars and pitch that, okay, I have this solution which can help you to probably bring in some optimization, even in a very small part of your supply chain, and with an optimal cost, the industry is actually ready to take up that solution and try to see. So that is kind of, I would say, an openness which the industry has, like, which has come into the industry recently, which was not there many years back. So definitely a lot of companies are doing, and surely you can also build a business around it.
Okay, there's another question. Is this role of supply chain manager too hectic? I mean, when you were working in supply chain, were you working for 6 days a week? Or how? And also, what kind of work-life balance is there in this field?
Okay. So supply chain management can be hectic sometimes. When I say hectic is because let's say it's like same like sales, right? Like you have the end of the month where you'll have to deliver your numbers. You will have a lot of pressure on ensuring that your sales actually like kind of delivers during that time, so that you meet your end numbers, right? Similarly, when the pressure for sales actually increases, you will have a pressure to ensure that the goods are reaching on time in the place that they want. So obviously you will have to ensure that that's all planned. And it's also important that you plan it out well in advance. And some cases you cannot actually plan it also, because it depends on what product will sell, what product will not sell. So in 1 month, actually what will happen is that you will have one product which will go really well. In the next month, actually that product will not go, and they might need some other product. So moving these goods, etc., at some point in time can be hectic. But having said so, it's actually kind of, I would say, relatively I would say an easier one, because if you're planning it and if you're doing it like in the right way, and if you're just learning from whatever the mistakes that you have done in the past, it's kind of like easier for you. And that's where the importance of processes and the systems are very important, because you build a process around some of the issues that you have faced in the past, you can actually kind of ensure that that kind of doesn't repeat in the future. Similarly, reliance on systems and how you can actually depend on the systems will definitely help you to ensure that you don't face those issues. So when I started up this role, I mean, again, taking from my personal role, it was very difficult for me in my initial few months in Hector. Two reasons. One is that being a startup, and they are very, very, I would say, aggressive. The number growth, etc., is like pretty aggressive, and startup as such is like generally aggressive. So you will have to like ensure that you kind of meet that. Second thing is that you don't really know about what works, what doesn't work, right? But then when you are in that system for almost 1-2 years, you know kind of what will work, what will not work, and you kind of start bringing in a lot of optimization, innovation, etc., which will eventually result in like you ensuring that the business is doing well, the supply chain management is doing well, plus you also kind of having a, I would say, peaceful life in that case.
Okay. So can you is it possible that someone who has been in sales and marketing, since you were talking about sales, can someone move from sales and marketing and get into supply chain? And also, can you please elaborate how marketing skills would come handy in supply chain? Because I think you correlated supply chain with sales and marketing in one of your answers.
No, right, absolutely. So I would say it's more like the first thing is that, yes, obviously I have seen a lot of people move from marketing and sales into supply chain and operations. Okay. So there can be two reasons for that. One reason is that the person is actually interested in knowing the operations piece of it, because they would have just seen the product coming to them and they're just selling the product. Now, especially if you have to get into a role which is, let's say, a CEO, or let's say a business head of a particular country. And when you say business head, the business head actually manages not just the sales part of it, right? You also handle finance, operations, etc. So a lot of this sales or marketing guys actually kind of come into operations and supply chain to learn about it, because that's most complex part out of it. So that kind of an experience will, in the long run, will help you in like knowing more about the business part of it, not just purely from selling a product, but where are the costs sitting, what are the different costs that in which is sitting, etc. And eventually you will be able to, when you're going up the ladder, you will be able to have an overall perspective or a holistic perspective, which you would be missing if you're just purely going in that one particular ladder. Now, the other question, which is on the marketing piece, yes, marketing, I would say it's more, I would say like related to sales, because sales and marketing is actually different, right? So marketing is basically you kind of like talk about the consumer, what is that your consumer is expecting, you kind of build your products around it.
Supply chain has quite a bit of that as well. No, you have to understand the consumer, isn't it?
Exactly. So your consumers can be like different in this case, because your consumers can be your internal consumers as well. But when you look at sales, I would say sales is very closely related to operations, because sales is about actually kind of influencing without authority, you call. You'll have to influence your buyers. In this case, your buyers would be actually your distributors, your modern trade guys, etc. And you will have to come into a close coordination with them to negotiate some terms and conditions to ensure that your product's actually being sold to them. A similar kind of thing is actually very much there in supply chain as well. You'll have to coordinate with your logistics partners. You'll have to coordinate with your internal customers, your suppliers, etc., to ensure that you get the results that actually you want. So a lot of this things are very similar between many of these categories, or I would say, let's say finance, marketing. I'm sure that's easier to, not very easy, but it's easy to actually shift if you're looking from a skills perspective, especially the soft skills.
Can you talk about, okay, there's a question. What is expected in terms of certification achievements of a person joining an MBA college for operations and supply chain management, and the expectation for an MBA graduate joining a company? So, how does and there is, okay, you can answer this and then I'll ask you the next one.
No problem. So in terms of certifications, like I said, right, there are some of these courses would obviously help you. Some of this procurement as well as
but
like
also,
supplies.
Okay, one thing is it necessary that you need to be from an engineering background to really excel in operations and supply chain?
No, not necessarily. No, definitely not necessary.
But if data and all, studying data, understanding them, all that.
So data is, so Kalyani, data is an integral part of all the organized, like all the things, right? In a finance thing, you cannot say, okay, I don't like data, so I will not. Sales and marketing, like it's very much data driven now. So it's like you data analytics and like data, and I wouldn't say that you need to be an expert in data analytics. Like how do you infer some, let's say, information out of the data is something very critical for all the facets of management. Now, answering your initial question, like what are the certifications, is it necessary? Not necessarily. Like you can learn about it, you can be there, and obviously like your MBA courses would talk a lot about many of the skills, including operations, supply chain, etc. And you can learn a lot about it. And there are case studies, obviously, which will help you to like understand how different businesses have actually helped you in the, so how different businesses have managed this in the past. And when you go from an MBA to get into a company, again, generally a company doesn't hire you because like you are like an excel in operations or marketing, etc. People are hired for their core skills, the skills that you actually bring in table. So many of these companies like look at you as a person and say, okay, this person, can he communicate, can he be probably a good part of the organization, is his cult, will he fit into the cultural part of the organization, etc. And that's how they kind of recruit many of these guys. So that's a similar way for even operations as well. Just, and maybe having some of the certifications or let's say some of these courses that you have taken would be an added benefit, but the prime or the priority is that you kind of are the person who is fitting into what they are looking for you. Now additional whatever comes, which is added benefit, and if there are two persons of similar, let's say, skill set, maybe probably because you're having an extra certification might help you.
Okay. How does the work experience in ops and supply chain line up with starting one's own business? How helpful will it be?
No, that's a good question. It will be definitely be helpful because you are talking about, again, kind of talking to suppliers, you're kind of like building the product, you're kind of like again selling it to someone. So the selling part is actually missing out here, but definitely understanding this dynamics, especially in some of this categories or let's say some of these industries, can definitely be helpful. And that's not just for operations and management, but for any of the different field. let's say talk about marketing, finance, etc. Having that experience and probably having, let's say, a general management experience. And when you say general management, it's generally what you're talking about is that having experience of worked in different field.
Right.
So that kind of an experience would definitely help you. And if you're especially looking at, let's say, starting a business, the best way to do it would be probably joining a startup who actually help you to kind of put your hands in like different fields. Because if you feel that probably like, I want to do that one, there's a very much of an openness in the startup culture that kind of allows you to kind of explore different opportunities within that organization. And what I have also seen is that many of the startup founders and, let's say, startup companies kind of helps you and supports you to start your own business. That's kind of an entrepreneurial spirit that we are talking about, right? So that can definitely be helpful, especially if you are looking at in long term to start your own business.
Okay. It's about one more question. Even if automation comes into play in near future, some things cannot be replaced by machines. For example, procurement. Is it true? What all other things apart from procurement which will not get affected?
Okay, so procurement in itself, it's not that they cannot be replaced. So earlier it was that you'll have to do the negotiation with the person face to face, sitting on the table, like one person this side and the other person this side. So, and that's a general understanding of negotiation. You'll have to visit them, build that relationship, etc. But even with that, it has actually come to digital procurement. So you have something called auctions. Auctions can be done online. So you will have like 4 suppliers coming in one platform, and then they kind of just start talking about all those let's say pricing, your specifications, etc. So that's something which is like pretty much there. So it's not that it's not replaceable, but there are some other things that which is like very much related to let's say procurement as well, which cannot be replaced. And that's all the skill set that you bring into the table. Right now you got some result out of, let's say, the digital procurement. How do you use that result to like find out which is the best way that you'll have to approach it, etc. is something will only come when you have that person available. So many of these things, yes, machines are there, you cannot replace it, etc. Especially if you're looking from a skill set, if you are not ready to learn and ready to embrace innovation, you will definitely be left behind in the pecking order.
So, other than NITI and IIMs, are there any other V school that you would also like to name, which are good for people who would like to pursue operations, as in would like to follow their career path in operations and supply chain?
Yes. So in terms of operations, absolutely, you are right that NITI is kind of considered as a mecca of operations and supply chain management. But that doesn't mean that, okay, if you are in IIMs and then doing general management with a focus on, let's say, even operations or marketing, you will not be able to get into this role. So obviously, like a lot of this roles, it's again like you can definitely get into supply chain operations management, or let's say any of the roles which are related to supply chain management. I've seen a lot of people. Can it be from even XLRI, TIS, etc., who are even focused on HR, and even all these IITs. Let's say if you're looking at a tier 2 college, like let's say IITs, they also give a lot of focus on operations and supply chain management, like IIT Kharagpur, and then you have IIT Bombay, etc. And there are also, like if you're talking about tier 3, again, there is like SIUM, which is like Symbiosis Institute of Operations Management, which is purely focusing on operations management. So there are different tiers of college which are focusing on purely the operations part. But you can do a general management course, and then obviously you can actually move into operations.
So the last question for today, before we wrap up, so our MBA aspirants, or most of our attendees are MBA aspirants. What would you tell them as in maybe 2 or 3 suggestions for them to the things that they can do now, so that if in case they are interested in pursuing operations and supply chain as a career path, what are the things that they should do right now? Other than, of course, taking CAT and preparing.
Yeah, obviously. No, I was coming to that only because it's important that we kind of.
Other than that.
No, absolutely. Like I said at the start of, I think, in between the call, right? So maybe you'll have to look at projects. And when I say projects, this needn't be projects which are purely focusing on operations and supply chain as well. You can take up projects which is kind of giving you an overall view of how companies work, and in that can be a piece of operations and supply chain management. Because eventually when you take up these kind of projects, there will be some part of it which is related to operations and supply chain. And maybe if you're purely focusing on operations and supply chain, you can take up something with, let's say, logistics companies, or let's say logistics technology companies, supply chain technology companies, etc., which will give you a very, very good indication of how this works. And these being like new technologies, I'm sure like they would have probably an idea of working with many of these bigger companies. So that's something that they can take up. You can read about it, you can talk about it, because like you said at the start of the call, it's kind of affecting our day-to-day life, right? Because you don't get, let's say, the milk today morning because something happened with the vehicle on the way. It's like it's their part and parcel of our day-to-day life. So maybe looking up from that angle, and then maybe just thinking about how your life is related to supply chain management, and trying to read more about it will give you a perspective, especially if you are looking purely for a career towards operations and supply chain. And more important is that you will have to focus on your, let's say, exams, etc., etc., because you will have to get into NITI or IIMs, etc. At the end of the day, it's important that you have the required marks with you to get into these colleges.
All right. So before we wrap up, I would like to thank all of your attendees and our wonderful speaker, Vijosh. Thank you very much. This is Kalyani Majumdar from IMS Future You, wishing you a great weekend. Stay home and stay safe. Good day.
Thank you. Thanks, Kalyani, and thanks for the participants. Take care.
Thank you,
Enjoy your
Vijosh.
weekend.
Thank
Bye.
you very much.